Hey everybody, welcome to the Weird Kids podcast. And hey, guess what? It's an actual podcast, not a live stream. So how about that shit? Anyway, what's going on? We are extremely excited. I don't know about the rest of us, but I am to be here talking to you guys for once. More of a face-to-face, kind of on a personal level about our favorite stuff. Video games, movies, comic books, TV shows, whatever else we feel like talking about. So yeah, I feel like we should probably start off by introducing ourselves, since normally we just start playing a game at this point and nobody really knows who we are outside of our names. I'm Evan. I talk a lot. I'm a debate team person in school, so that's why I talk a lot. But I'm not going to talk much more than this. Everybody else can say whatever.
I am Scott. You might know me as Captain Scotty Quickshots or just Scotty Quickshots. I'm great with the XM10. I go to college. I'm studying graphic design. I make all the art for our channel, the banners, everything like that.
The badass art.
Thank you. And I play basketball.
I am.
Hey.
I beat you to it by a split second. Oh, no, not in my house. I'm Weird Kid Jeff. I mostly work on a lot of the tech stuff, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. The running joke is that I'm the Weird Kids tech support. I am also in college. I am majoring in electrical engineering, minoring in creative writing. I'm also the guy who defaces Scott's artwork so that I can put it on the website. And I also do Wayback Machine every Tuesday, and I kind of talk a bit too. Evan's the loud one, but I'm kind of I'm right behind him. I'm nipping at his heels. At least that's how I like to think about it. And so yeah, that's me.
He's also bad at everything.
Yeah, but so is Phill, so that doesn't count.
I'm Kristian.
Anyway.
I'm the resident grouch.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Kristian. I am Carl. I am
get
also
really mad. I'm
college-
sorry. There we go. I get really mad at everything. That's it.
All right, Carl. Got it.
I'm Carl. I'm also a college student. That seems to be a running theme here. I am currently a senior, pursuing a degree in media arts and science, which is very vague, but I'm specifying in 3D animation. And I also have I already have a minor in German, so linguist, yeah.
Oh, baby.
Anyway, like, I just play games and I'm here to be heckled and to heckle other people. So there's that. I got that going for me.
Hello, my name is Cole. I'm just here because I fucking can be. I have no purpose in my life currently, and I have nothing going for me but being a fat, lazy piece of shit sitting in a chair looking at a fucking computer screen that is eventually going to explode on me sometime in this fucking call. Until that happens, I'm going to just be moving along with all the other conversations, pretending like I know what I'm talking about when I obviously don't, and we're gonna all finish it off with me violently shitting my pants in fear.
I mean, at least you're more of a person than CJ.
Yeah, at least I am. That
My
fat-
God.
Oh my God. We're like 5 minutes into this, and the destruction has already happened.
Put the guns away, guys. We don't need to be having our viewers get their bulletproof vests this quick.
Anyway, we still got 2 more people, so
Okay. I'll go, I guess. Oh, I am Philip, Phil, Felipe, whatever the fuck you want to call me. I play video games. I am not in college. I'm terrible at almost every video game known to man. Probably worse than Jeff.
He is trying to steal my thunder.
I am probably worse than you.
I was bad before you were bad.
Jeff, I was born
Ladies.
before you, therefore I was bad before you.
All right,
Ladies-
keep on
ladies
rolling.
are both
Decided
ugly.
dildo out so soon.
Okay, I stream whatever. If you're watching the stream and you see someone doing terribly, that's probably me.
Absolutely
Alright.
brutal.
And our
Hello,
last
everybody.
person.
The god of COD here, Mitchell. And I am a college student too, just like Carl in the same field. But I'm going to be a concept artist, and all you need to know is I am the god of COD.
He's not talking about Call of Duty either. He's talking about the fish, the actual fish.
That's true. Well, now that you guys know somewhat more a little bit about us, now you can stalk us and, like hunt us down eventually and murder us. That's cool. I came up with a short segment literally about an hour before we started recording, and for now I'm tentatively calling it rapid response, where I'm going to ask a question of everybody, and then everyone's going to have to pick an answer from the choices I give you. What the fuck is that
What
noise?
the fuck was that shit?
I'm gonna be
Alright.
blaming Phil for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was
so
about to say that's a vaporizer.
I'm going to ask a question, and I'm going to give you everybody some answers, and it's a multiple choice. And this was a question I saw in an image from I can't remember where, but I've changed the answers to better suit us, if you will.
Oh God.
The question I originally saw was on a home economics quiz, and it was unaltered until I did some horrible, awful things to it that would be hilarious for anybody to just say candidly at dinner. So here's the question, and I'll give you your responses too. So the question is, when you're out to dinner and you must excuse yourself from the table, which of the following would you use? Answer A. Sorry, you'll have to excuse me for a few minutes. I think the baby's coming. Answer B. Answer B. Can you wait just a moment? Your life story is literally boring me to death. Like, I'm about to swan dive out the window right now. And answer C. Well, I'll be right back. I need to take the most massive shit humankind's ever seen with my anus. BRB. So, if you have to excuse yourself from the dinner table in a really fancy high-dollar restaurant, which one would you use?
All right, just for
Excuse me, the baby's coming.
for clarification purposes, Evan, since it's your question, you should pick which one of us is gonna like to answer at a time, so that we aren't all.
Oh, I don't personally care.
All right.
So, guys,
I would probably say, I need to take the most massive shit humankind has ever seen with my anus.
You see, you got it wrong there, though. It has to be elegant.
I'm
And by
sorry.
elegant, I mean your life story is boring me so much, I'm literally about to swan dive out the window.
Carl, what if I say it? Well, I'll be right back. I need to take the most massive shit humankind has ever seen.
I don't know about you guys.
Not elegant.
It doesn't
that
necessarily make it high class.
I like how you
I
went
don't-
like all evil doctor there.
I don't know about you guys, but if I'm just gonna go with it, I'm like, excuse me, I really need to take a gigantic shit right out of my butthole.
I would personally be all serious, look him square in the eyes, and be like, "You don't understand. The world is in danger. My anus is preparing the spirit bomb of shits. Everyone's shit in this room is collecting in my anus right now as we speak. You are all in danger. Get the fuck out now." And then just run screaming to the bathroom, causing the biggest scene I possibly can. Maybe shit myself on the way to prove that shit is going down.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
Going
the
down
fear
somewhere,
shit
all right.
happening now?
Oh yeah. The toilets have never been
Alright.
more third.
Personally, it would definitely be, excuse me, the baby's coming.
That's the one I'd go with.
Split legs, and then the baby just bounces off some person's fucking head.
Continue.
Just,
Oh, there it is.
just adjust yourself and then just launch the baby like it's coming out of a cannon and use it to knock over the nearest bus table you can find.
Does anybody remember that Xbox Live Arcade game where you shot a baby out of your vagina and you had to
Oh
guide
my
the
God.
baby to the hospital? Does anybody know what I'm talking
Yes.
about?
That was a thing. Oh lord.
That was a thing. Just like the game Try Not to Fart.
Oh,
Or
no, that one.
what about the game Don't Shit Your Pants?
I think that's what it was called, actually.
No, that's not what it was called.
Wasn't
That
it?
was a separate game. That was a game all about you as a human being trying to find any way possible to not shit your pants, which was anywhere viable from literally typing in "take off pants, take shit,"
That one.
and
that
then
one.
the character would.
That's how
Yeah.
you not. Oh my god! I didn't even think of that when I played that game.
Yeah, that one's one of the. Yeah, guys, that one's actually one of the achievements. It's called Mr. Efficient. I remember
yes.
that.
That's it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done. I can't do it.
I think it's bad enough. It's bad enough that I actually remember that. The exact
an idiot
name of
now.
it.
I love how we made the host leave within 5 minutes.
We're 15 minutes in and we're already talking about shit.
I know, right?
I can't say I'm not surprised.
Well, I mean, I set the question up like that. I knew it would be an interesting time, and I think it's been a great way to start this off.
Yeah, I
And don't
totally
worry,
enjoyed
there's
that.
plenty more. We got all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk about everyone's favorite indie horror game series, Five Nights at Freddy's. We're going to be talking about the Hideo Kojima mess. We're going to be talking about what I've just discovered to be the greatest video game of all time, which is Rocket League, and some other stuff too. So
Secret Wars.
You say talk when we all know it's going to be a bloody argument.
I mean,
okay.
Honestly,
Let's
we're
get
good
this
enough
show on the
friends
road.
that we can handle it peacefully. I think we can handle it. We're all
No,
adults
you
here.
can't.
So in my search
You're
for
probably-
the game that Scott was talking about, I found a Flash game on Newgrounds where
Oh,
you
no.
shoot a baby out of a cannon and then shoot it like clay targets in the air.
I played that one in middle school. I remember.
Is this an occupation I can pick up?
baby launcher.
Baby launcher. I remember a game on, I think Yugo Player. It was like, don't shoot the dog, and
Don't
you're
don't
like,
shoot the puppy.
don't shoot the puppy, and so
Yeah.
you're supposed to click start, and you're supposed to leave your mouse there the entire time. Kind of
And
reminds
like
me of
fake
that. Though.
pop-up ads will come up, and like the
Yeah.
game will go black and stuff. It's hilarious. All right, so
Okay.
what do we
One of the
want to start
hardest
off with?
games
We
ever.
just want to. Oh yeah.
Let's
See,
go.
normally
Favorite
we
indie
have
horror
a-
franchise.
What?
Are we just gonna go straight down the list?
Nah, let's
Sure, why
just
not?
pick and choose. Let's just flow naturally.
How
I
about we
think
start out
we
with
should-
the Five Nights?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should get the one that's gonna get us at each other's throats the most out of the way as quick as possible.
Let's see. What can I say to
Okay.
piss everyone off as quickly as
Hold up.
possible?
Wait, hold up. Before you do that, let me preface this a little bit. So, if you're not familiar, that means you literally are a snail and you've never come out of your shell one time over the past like year.
No offense,
Five
Christian.
Nights at Freddy's. It's created by Scott Cawthon. He's the only guy that works on it. It's a bunch of games about animatronic animals and a pizza joint, and it's pretty good for indie horror. I mean, there's not a lot of horror games that scare me anymore, and like the original one did get me quite a few times.
Yep.
But recently, there's been some acquisitions and some talks of a movie being developed out of the franchise.
Are you serious?
And our decision, or at least what Carl and I believe, is that this movie could potentially be the saving grace, the holy grail that the horror genre of film needs.
And,
Oh
and
my
then,
fucking
but
God.
then the rest. There's some of us who think that it's going to be the last nail in the coffin. I need to
Right,
make
and I
that-
think that's why this is going to be an
Please
interesting
turn off
discussion.
Cupbound.
I'm doing that
Come
now.
on, no!
All right. Well, how do you turn jump scares for an hour and make a profit?
Here, let me. I
Have
know
you?
I've been talking a lot, but wait. Let me say this. I saw an article earlier or a post on one of the game's pages on Steam by Scott, and he said that everyone thinks they have this game figured out. And
Yeah.
then he goes on to say the following words: "No one has figured out the story to this series."
Not
I
even
think
Matt
the
Matt?
movie is going to be very largely rooted in its very well done story. But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's how I see it.
Yeah, as Matt Pat has proven, you can go so far into this game from only one person ever talking to you and giving very subtle hints and blurry newspaper clippings on loading screens.
At the
The
same
fact
time,
that this game is spawning so many theorists to come out of their shell, contrive so many theories that sound so plausible within its world, that even the creator itself has said, you know, you guys are doing a really good job, you still haven't figured everything out.
yeah, I believe I was reading up on that, and I believe it specifically said that Matt Pat was extremely close when it came to 1 and 2. But nobody has figured out 4, is what he specifically said. So that means very well people may
Right.
have completely figured out 1 through 3. He didn't say yes or no on that, but he said for sure nobody has completely figured out 4.
Right.
I really haven't checked
He's
out
also
for
gone
it.
on. He's gone on saying, I read another article, I think it might have been the same one, I'm not too sure, saying that he has put hints and Easter eggs and like triggers in there that spawn all the mini games, all the story that the game is known for having, and no one's found them, or at least they've seen them and done nothing with them.
Right.
All right. What I don't think that those are Easter eggs. I think the dude's just talking out of his asshole. That could just be my negative side coming out. But I really don't think he started. I don't really think he knew he was going to be laying down such a fantastic game series from the beginning.
Which could be completely possible as well, because many game companies are caught on record for doing just that, for having supposedly long trailing and long detailed Easter eggs that no one can figure out how they end or where they begin. For an example, look at From Software in the very first Dark Souls. Everyone thought that when you started off as one class, you got a locket, and they thought that locket was something important, and they would die to this day saying it was important. The only reason we never got any answer from this is because From Software never came out and said yes or no as if this is a real Easter egg or if this is a real thing in the game or not. The only reason we know it's not is the fact that someone who is affiliated with From Software or someone who knows stuff about it came to companies and journalists and said that it wasn't. So Scott could be very true here in saying that Cawthon is just talking out of his ass. But with everything we've seen and everything that has been laid out in front of us, I personally don't think that to be the case.
I feel like it may have been a case where the first one may have had these things, but he didn't like it, not to the extent, but he saw people doing that, so he, what's the word? He expanded upon it.
Rolled with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he expanded upon it, and because actually, I was just reading something about Back to the Future today. That was the same way, when they rolled everything back in the third one, because when they made the first one, they didn't plan on making sequels, but they rolled it all back together, and they expanded upon it and just rolled it all back in. I feel like what he's doing is the very same exact type of thing. Very similar case.
Right.
Okay, but we've talked about the game a lot.
Here, I was about to say, let me explain my argument on why it's going to make a great movie. Since I'm a video production major, this is something we've talked about in some of my classes already. But one of the biggest things to why films aren't as successful anymore as they used to be is solely because of exposition. Because everything nowadays is explained mostly through dialogue and introductory narratives, and that's not a great way to do it. It's not very interesting. And I think that as long as they keep Scott Cawthon on as some kind of producer or an advisor, I think they can make what a great movie should be, because Scott is so good at slipping things into his games that doesn't outwardly tell you what's going on, and it doesn't really completely hide the exposition, but it covers it up to a point where you, as a viewer, pay more attention rather than just sitting back and letting your brain become a roasted potato. You're actually paying attention, and it makes it much more interesting when you're like, oh, wow, they didn't have to literally say, oh my God, the animatronics killed a bunch of kids. You're seeing it happen on the screen rather than being told it's happening. Not only does it feels more natural, but it makes you feel less stupid, because sometimes when I watch bad movies, I feel literally insulted about sometimes when they're literally telling me what's happening, and I'm like, what are you doing? But that's just my piece.
See, what I'm worried about is the infamous how video game movies end up being. Absolutely terrible.
Oh no, Doom, not again.
Doom was fucking absurd.
Doom was terrible.
I'm guilty of liking Doom.
But that's a completely different debate for another day entirely.
Carl, I think
but I see what you're saying, though.
And Carl, I'd like to say
Yeah,
that
that's
I think
what I'm mainly worried about.
Phil, I was saying something. I forgot what I was saying now. God damn it.
So, do you think that this movie is going to start off with a different storyline, or if it's going to be a remake of one of the games, showing more detail than we were able to see in the game itself, being stuck in a tiny room?
At this point, I could possibly see a remake of a game, because if it's true that nobody's figured out the story, maybe seeing this film play out in about an hour and a half or so might help clear things up. But I could also see it being a different kind of storyline with very clear ties to the games.
I would see that as well.
Me personally, I can see it going both ways at the same time. For the fact of, I surely believe from the posters and from the leaked images that we've gotten of the movie that it's gonna be.
There are posters
There's not-
and images?
Yeah,
Yes,
there's
there
leaked
are.
images,
Oh my god, hold on.
but
Let me see.
to mine, like from everything I've seen and I've heard about, it's gonna be involving the original animatronics, not the toy ones. So it's gonna be Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, and
Foxy.
Foxy. That being said, I think that it's not gonna be about the main character from the first game. I think it's gonna be about Phone Guy and the stuff that he goes through, because we hear him die. So that could be a really interesting storyline that we see play out. A veteran of the company being like killed.
So the whole entire movie being based around everything he did there. And the final ending of the movie is Foxy grabbing him whenever the door runs out of power.
I could see how that could be, I can understand how that could be like pretty. I can understand how that could be like well done. My only concern is that most of the story's plots I feel like are told from inside of a room.
Yeah. True.
Which
It
are a
is,
good point.
but most of the stories are little hidden details, like they were saying. Most of it is found on posters and little subtle hints found everywhere. Like, just from a blurred picture, you can find a very crucial piece of the story by one person taking it and filtering it through to where you can actually see it. I'm wondering how they're going to manage to do that within the movie itself, because everybody who knows the series is going to be looking for subtle details all around the wall and all that shit like that, as opposed to somebody who's new to it going, oh, well, this movie made a bunch of people shit their pants because of the popular game series. I'm jumping into this blind. What am I going to find? Oh, it's just animatronics coming out of the nowhere, going oogity boogity and sticking their cock in somebody's eye. What is going on here?
I feel like
I think.
So,
Go ahead.
so final kind of wrap up thing. Is it going to save the horror genre, or is it dooming it?
Fuck no.
What do you think?
Fuck no. There's no way this is gonna be able to save the horror movie genre.
rest in peace horror movie genre. You had a
Now
good
that-
run.
Now looking back at it, originally I was saying it's going to doom it just because I personally am so tired of seeing so many Five Nights clones, Five Nights this, Five Nights that. Now it's a popular thing at Hot Topic. I almost immediately hate things that explode right off the bat, but now looking back at it, I can see that my point has changed. I think that it has a possibility to save it, but personally, I do believe that the Sinister series will save it, but that's a whole entire different thing that I don't want to get into because I'm the only one that's seen it in this chat. Regardless, what do you think could spawn from it if the movie was a major hit?
It has everything to gain if it's a major hit at that point. To be honest, it has everything to gain. But we're playing a really big what if game. If it does blow up like say Jurassic Park did in the '90s, then that's great. But if it flops like it did fucking Doom, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Right. I think
Eventually-
this debate is something good to talk about once we get closer or once it's come out and we start getting some critic reviews, some very critical analysis of the movie.
Yeah.
What's up,
Alright.
everybody?
I think we should definitely keep this on the back burner because this can
Yeah.
definitely be talked about in depth later on down the road.
Fair enough.
Agreed.
Yes.
So, on to the next thing.
All right. Speaking
else do we have
of
on this
production, the trailers for Metal Gear Solid 5: Phantom Pain, they are very well produced, and
Oh my
so,
god.
I mean, they are beautiful.
Don't get Scott
True.
started. We'll be here all night.
Bro, I'll cream my pants right here.
Let's
Which
not.
comes out next Tuesday.
Pants right here.
So,
Comes out
Oh
next
my
Tuesday.
god.
Does it really?
so
Those videos are so well produced, dude. It's like watching a movie.
It's because
Okay,
Kojima.
so
It's
knowing-
because Hideo Kojima knows what he's
Right.
doing.
Yeah,
And
he
we
does.
all
He knows how to tell
know-
the story. I have
We
not.
all
All right.
know what's been happening now. We've got a big fiasco involving Kojima and leaving, or did they fire him, or did he just
I'm
decide?
fairly sure he
Oh.
left voluntarily. There may have been firing
Either way,
involved.
he's not with Konami anymore, and that kind of spawned the whole PT thing. And now the question is, where's Kojima?
Because looking back on it, Kojima has been such an activist in the gaming industry, in Twitter. He posted stuff like every day, every week, and Facebook updated stuff all the time.
Oh yeah.
And ever since we got the news that Silent Hills was being canceled and the PT trailer was taken down, we've not seen like anything of him.
Right.
True.
He's effectively disappeared from the spotlight, which he might be doing himself and recovering and recouping from kind of the troubles he's had, because I don't know if we want to go into what Konami does as a company.
Jesus Christ.
That's a
Holy-
long story. We can talk about that another day, but I see what
To
you're saying.
put it up short, no individuality in the company, and that's what they were striving for. But Kojima is a very potent person and a very
Strong
big figurehead in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
He had
maybe
to
he
do-
left the company, maybe they fired him. I've heard both, and maybe he just might be taking time off to recuperate.
Maybe
But-
he
Before
did
it's
the
a publicity
Cliff
stunt
B.
for PR or PT.
Public, yeah.
I highly doubt that.
See, this is my crazy fucked up theory is because I fucking want I want Silent Hills so badly, was that maybe Konami is trying to make us experience Lost, because in the trailer, in the game PT, spoiler alert, you pretty much find out that you murdered your family right there in that house. So what goes along with that? That dude lost pretty much everything, and he leaves the house and he's all alone. He's alone. And so,
Poor
fucking yeah, Daryl Dixon. He's alone essentially, and that's what I was expecting. I thought Konami was like, "Hey, we gotta really make this pop. We gotta set the tone for this. We gotta show everyone that this thing's gone, and then we have to bring it back."
That's an interesting theory. I hadn't even really
Interesting.
considered that.
It's just like what they did to Coke.
Personally,
But on the other side, it's sort of a kick in the teeth. You want me to go into a little bit of like Konami's future?
Of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
I
let's
was
talk
gonna
about that.
talk
What
about
were you-
that for a hot
Phill?
second.
Wait,
What were
hold
you
on,
saying?
hold on.
What I was saying is that personally, I think Konami and their business model now ran Kojima out because they're going one way, he wants to go this other way, and those two ways wouldn't mesh well together.
Since they're going towards, for those of you who don't know watching, Konami's been making a huge shift from AAA titles to mobile gaming and casino machines.
Gross.
Yeah, slot machines. It's disgusting. It is disgusting.
And so
Yeah.
all of their classic IPs
I've
that they
actually
have
played
control
those
of,
slot
like
machines.
Contra, Bomberman, they're all just wasting away anymore.
Right.
Castlevania.
All right. The thing that I was saying about it, like I was gonna point out that the closest thing that we got to Silent Hill thus far was a Silent Hill slot machine, and that was released very recently, and that pissed me off quite a
That's
lot.
Gross. That's
It is
gross.
disgusting.
That
Like
is-
right after.
Ew.
It's
Ew.
just like the Persona 4 Pachinko machine that just got released. God damn it, Atlas! What are you doing?
That makes me
It's
feel
just-
dirty.
It's just something. It's just something that you don't do, especially when it's it's in very bad taste. I feel.
It's
you can't
rubbing
just go
salt
around
within the
that.
wound.
Yeah.
Ain't that a kick in the teeth?
You know, I think like I am a huge fan of horror, but I think horror has a really bad stigma about it of being extremely cheesy, and they either aren't scary or they try way too hard to be creepy and scary.
Fatal Frame.
And I think that I don't know a lot about Silent Hill. I've never completely played through a full game, but from what I understand, Japan has the shit when it comes to horror games. They got the good shit.
true.
Because
Oh my God.
I am so pumped up for the new Fatal Frame on the Wii U. I was
Yes.
so excited to hear that was coming out. And I think canning Silent Hills, that's That's bad. That's a
That's-
real bad move.
The thing about it is that each Silent Hill game that you play is you dissect the main character you're playing as,
Yeah.
and you essentially break them apart and see what makes them tick and what they're afraid of and why this monster looks this way and what it means and what it represents. And that's the crazy part about it. I mean, Silent Hill 3, there's a monster called essentially a walking tumor in the game that represents it's a lot. It's a lot to go with that game.
It's one of the glories of Silent Hill because everybody plays the main character thinking that they're the hero, but they forget no one good goes to Silent Hill.
Exactly.
Silent Hill is their punishment, and that game is made to dissect everything they've done in imagery in front of you, and you are fighting their battles and their demons.
It's like watching. I'm sorry. It's like watching. I'm sorry. Just go.
No,
So,
I left it
looking
open.
at everything Kojima has done and Konami has done, and we know Kojima to be such an amazing storyteller and such an amazing person himself. Look at all the stuff he's done through the MGS series, and look at Konami with their past in the old Silent Hills. Surely something could have happened there to make something great. But to all of our knowledge, Kojima's disappeared, and we've not heard hide or tail from him since, until something popped up on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
That we can only be taken. It can either be serious, or it can be a complete hoax, and everyone's getting their hopes up for nothing.
Well, what was
And we're talking about the Kojima Lives thing. That's all I can say. Conglomerate that's going on Twitter right now.
All right. May I say something?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
about
Scott.
the Twitter. All right. So I looked at the Twitter yesterday. The pictures on the Twitter keep changing consistently. It's before the last profile picture was, it looks like of a little girl holding a rabbit, a stuffed rabbit. Very dark, very brooding looking photography. And if you keep scrolling down, it keeps getting a little bit more graphic. They seem to go towards more darker colors and red colors. And one of the pictures in there is a picture of two fetuses. I'm not sure if you guys. I'll send you the picture of this if I can. It has a picture of these two fetuses side by side, and a lot of people that are replying to it think that it's Solid Snake and maybe Liquid Snake. I, on the other hand, think that it could be something to do with Silent Hill, being the hopeful person that I am.
Well, saying how you've seen the rabbit and the child, that was a very big detail within one of the Silent Hill games. I do believe it was called The Room or The Hotel, like...
The three and The Room as well.
Yes. That fucking rabbit has haunted my nightmares, and I swear to God, I will fucking eat it if I ever see it, just because that's my natural defense mechanism. But I will.
And also, along with
that's
the
the
Twitter
fucking
account,
rabbit from the Silent Hill game. Son of a bitch.
Along with the Twitter account also came a website. It was like INGCO or something. If anyone wants to look that up.
INGSOC.org.
Yeah, .org.
Yeah, it came with that. And I remember checking it 2 nights ago, I think it was. It was a black background with a time countdown with a red foxhound logo, which, if anyone doesn't know, is the Kojima logo. So, and then I checked it today before the podcast and everything, and it's like, it's got blackout, the word blackout there.
It's Blackhound.
Blackhound, that's it, yeah. It's got Blackhound on the site. It's got different imagery. So it's just like
that so I can show it on stream.
The imagery that
I just sent
pulled
it.
up was the imagery that I just pulled up on that website was actually the stuffed animal rabbit, is what I found.
Yeah.
If it's saying that it's Black Hound, that might be the new, I guess, because basically MGS5 is about diamond dogs, right?
I believe
Could that
so.
be, because they had, what is it?
It was Foxhound,
XOF,
XOF,
XOF or whatever in Ground Zeroes. Maybe later on they branched into Black Hound or something like that. Okay. I'm just saying it might be like a rival faction.
That might be it as well.
Fun
Look,
fact that this game's gonna be on the next Nintendo console because at the bottom it says currently unannounced Nintendo console. So fun
nice.
fact.
So
Anyway,
I don't know about you guys. I've heard rumors that Guillermo del Toro, one of the producers and writers for Silent Hills, is currently in the process of making a horror game not called Silent Hills, starring Norman Reedus with some other company, some other person.
So
All right.
that
So
very
I would like to say I would enjoy that greatly, but the thing that I heard was that Guillermo del Toro said that he wasn't going to be making any more video games, which
That's
scares
what I
me.
heard too. He said he was quitting after the 2 failures.
Let's hope that is not the case because I want to see this incredibly badly because Guillermo del Toro is a fantastic writer.
Yes, agreed. So, what do we think about the Kojima Lives? Do we
I
think it's true?
honestly, I can't say that it's necessarily true, but I can't prove that it's fake. My only questioning of not being true is Konami is a Japanese company, and Kojima is obviously Japanese. My question is, why would he be posting stuff in English before he'd be posting it in Japanese? Because let's be honest, most Japanese game companies don't think about the States or a lot of other countries. A lot of stuff they get releases there. So that's my only concern as to why it could be fake, but it could just be real, and I've just not seen the Japanese version of it. I don't know. I would love to see it personally. I'd like to see it. I'd play Silent
I'm going to stay
Hills.
hopeful.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay hopeful.
I'm not too into horror, but as you guys remember, I did play PT, and I got the poopy butt spooked out of me.
Me and Cole played it.
Yeah.
Exactly. PT is a great example of horror done right. I mean, they gave you like I'm a horror fanatic. I love being scared and I loved a well-written scary story. And so they sit you down, they don't tell you what's going on. They sit you down, they say, "Look, this is what's going to happen and you're going to do everything that we say." And you do it. You don't know you're doing it, but you do it. They give you one direction and that's forward. Essentially, that you just go forward, and that's what really scares me. The fact that you have no control over it, and that's what good horror does, I think.
Right, I would agree with you there. You know, I think I'm trying to switch gears here because I think these two go hand in hand, but I think Konami is one of the companies on my shit list that's playing a hand in what could potentially be, well, I'm saying it's going to happen. It's inevitable. But what's going to be the next video game industry crash, like huge crash and burn.
Yes.
I think this is a huge step towards that, and that's not good. My issue with this, and I'm very outspoken about this stuff because I've been playing games for so long now, and the direction it's going is like disgusting. Because you've got people on Steam. I'm not going to point too many fingers, but I am going to use Cube World as a great example. If you haven't played it, it's a game kind of like Minecraft, but more on the MMORPG side rather than the build and survive side. The thing I have an issue with is Steam's Greenlight and their whole early access stuff. That's become a gigantic cesspool of unfinished games and no updates. So you pay like $20 to get into the early access, and you're like, cool, I'm helping the development. And then 2 years later, as with the cases at Cube World, there's no updates. The game's not finished. It's not fun anymore because there's glitches and stuff that are broken. And that's become the norm now, and that's not a good thing at all.
And if it's
And
not,
it's starting to leak into the real video game industry with companies like EA and Ubisoft and now Konami.
and the other,
It's not good.
the AAA side of that coin also is that they're releasing games that aren't complete, and then they're charging you for DLC to pretty much complete the game. Look at
That is the textbook definition of Destiny.
I was about to say Destiny. I think that was the
We
main
can-
example.
Carl, Cole, and I can talk about this nonstop because we probably all put like probably over a couple thousand hours into that game combined.
I am playing it right now.
God. The issue
Why,
with
though?
Destiny is that they're coming out with expansion pack number 3, the Taken King, and they're essentially
mean new
trying
game?
to steal. No. Let me do this without sarcasm. They're essentially trying to steal more money from people because in order to play the new DLC, you have to rebuy the game and the other two DLCs that you probably already own. Why is this bullshit? Well, because first of all, you own the other things except for the DLC. So instead of paying like $20 for just the DLC, now you're paying like $40 to $60 for everything. Secondly, I'm one of the people that bought the expansion pass thing or whatever, which I thought would be like a normal season pass where you'd get all the DLC. No, season pass doesn't cover this one. What the hell, Bungie? What are you doing?
Yeah, why would you charge the people that bought your game in the first place more money to continue
Right.
playing the game?
And it's catering to people that weren't with the game since day one, which is not what you want to do. Because now they're removing the whole, like, oh, you have to put on certain pieces of gear to level up. Like, XP doesn't matter after a certain point. Now it's going to be, oh, you can just hit max level by killing stuff. Shit. What about you guys? What do you guys think about this? I know Carl and Cole both know a lot about Destiny.
I have a
Yeah.
just
Hold up, wait. What, Phil? What's up?
just over on general, like what you said about the Steam Greenlight and everything, like terrible games are coming out and it's flooding the market with terrible games. And as you remember, what happened back in whatever years those were with Atari
90s.
and the terrible games that were coming out for the Atari 2600, and it flooded the market. And then everyone's like, "Nope, we ain't having that." And just pushed it aside, and that's why ET's in New Mexico. Somewhere.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm sorry, Phil.
I had something, but I lost it. You can.
Oh, my bad. I was gonna say there's too much shitty content that's being put onto Steam. That's the problem. I mean, I'm all for game developers getting out there, putting their content out there, and asking for their help and opinions. Like, hey, what can I do to make this better? But once you get the green light and once you get the money, that's not a time for you to leave. At that point, I feel you've made a promise to these people to make this game as good as you possibly can make it.
And I think that the journalism side and the media side of this is also contributing. And they didn't really have that back during the Atari, so you literally didn't know what game you were buying unless you read the stuff on the back. And now you have, like, let's be honest, we can all pretty much infer that IGN and maybe some other sites are being paid off for their reviews because they're giving Call of Duty 10 out of 10 every year when it's nothing new, and they're giving really good games like, oh, it's a 7. Like, that's not helping at all.
Too much water. All right, they criticize Pokemon about being the same over and over, yet Call of Duty is the same exact thing.
Yep.
Pretty much every game is the same exact thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Which leads me to another thing.
Look at the sports games.
Yep, that's a huge example.
Sorry, Phil.
Now, going back into that whole discussion about the greenlight things, even big companies are doing it. Like you were just saying, look at Destiny. They released what was arguably a half-finished game because... Does anyone else remember the story mode from Destiny? Because all I remember from the story mode of Destiny was, oh, look, you're alive now. Oh, look, you're fighting machines. Oh, look, you're fighting Fallen. Oh, look, you killed something. And now the story mode's over. And I'm just sitting there like, what just happened? And Bungie isn't the only company... One second, Cole. Bungie isn't the only company to do something like this.
Yeah.
If we're going to be talking about companies releasing half-finished games or games with hardly anything on them, Capcom is one of the biggest offenders of it because according to Capcom, DLC doesn't stand for downloadable content. It stands for disc-locked content.
The thing about it is that this hurts me a lot because Capcom is easily one of my favorite companies, and everybody knows. Yeah. Everyone knows in this call how much I love Resident Evil. The first game is probably one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, and that hurts because they're not going to, they're going to continue to make shitty decisions like this.
But you were going to say something, Cole?
Yeah, so I was going to ask if I can have a bit of floor so I can pick apart the story,
Go ahead.
because I personally have read pretty much 90% of the Grimoire cards, invested
Okay.
more of my life than I should ever, and I can say
I want
without
to
a
stop.
doubt, there is no fucking story to this fucking game when they have every bit of everything that they can use. It's like everybody, they took the recipe, they took all the ingredients, slapped them in front of them, and they looked at you like you were a piece of shit, and then took a shit in front of you and went, "There's your story. Taste it."
What were you gonna say, Carl?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna stop you there, Cole, because you can't expect someone, just your average Joe gamer who just bought this game day one, gonna be, oh, yeah, I'm gonna go home and play this thing. You can't expect someone like that to want to engage in the story.
Exactly.
And they made it so hard to get any bit of a story out of that game by making it online content only. And they thought that was a good idea. And in retrospect, if they didn't do it a bad way, it probably would have been a good idea had there been more of, I want to say, bait to draw them into doing it.
Yeah, there's nothing. This is how the story goes. So you get revived by a ghost, and you're like, "Hey, I've apparently been dead for 100 years. What's going on here? Oh, there's no time. Your enemies are coming to kill you. Follow me." Okay, flying ball, I will go ahead and follow you. Oh, look at this. There's a gun out in front of me that has 3 billion theories of why that's there. I'm going to pick this up and shoot these random things that are apparently chasing me because you revived me, sure. After that all goes down, you go into this tower where the ghost tells you, Dinklebot, it says, "Oh, yes, you are part of Guardians. Guardians are a race of people that were, revived from the glowing golf ball in the sky that apparently died in some way, shape, or form. We don't know how, but it's dead, and now I exist. I'm a mini traveler. Welcome to our world, where literally nothing fucking makes sense, even though everything we could make a story with is right there in front of you. Hello, I am the
That's
speaker.
the end of the story.
I am the speaker. I don't have a face. I don't have a voice. I will never show anything of any importance to you ever, because I will say everything very jaded and in tiny little words that you can't even draw hints from. Why? Because fuck you. Go out and kill shit. Alright, cool. So I'm sitting there killing shit. All of a sudden, this random buttfucker comes out as an exo. Oh, I'm the stranger. I'm coming up to you, and don't worry, I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. Then
Oh,
why are
God.
you even talking to me? Why are you here? What am I killing shit?
Okay.
Oh, this is the
Alright,
darkness.
yeah.
This little robot right
But
here.
you know
This
what?
thing.
All right. But you know what has a really good story?
Spec Ops:
Change
The
gears.
Line.
We've been talking about gaming for a while. If you guys don't mind changing gears just for a couple minutes. I know not a lot of us talk about this. I just want to get this out real quick. Secret Wars.
Hey, Robbie. How's it going?
Oh my.
Wow, that
God.
segue's so obvious you could hit a brick wall with it.
We've been talking about gaming since we started. I thought it would be a good time to change gears just for a few minutes, even though I know we are primarily about gaming, but there are other things out there that we probably touch on.
I feel like I just got cock slapped.
You did.
You did. Sorry.
I think we all do. I think
have
we
We
all
can
Google-
do.
sit here and talk about how butt Destiny is for hours, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's
we gotta-
become
we
a
gotta-
guilty pleasure.
Let me
gotta move on to
zip my
different
pants back up.
topics.
After that cock
Well,
slap.
why don't, instead of that, we could say that's bad. What in video games do we want to see? Like, what would be good?
I was
What
just trying to move things away from
intros
gaming
or
for a
what
minute.
games really stand out in your mind that maybe, not all of it was a masterpiece, but it had really good things. I mean, I think for The Darkness too.
As I go
That-
to Steam, look through my games.
For me, The Darkness too, the whole intro level was just perfect, because you're like, oh, la-da-da, nice, ooh, two nice women, oh my god, her eye is now on my, that's a meatball, it's a meatball on my plate, no, that's an eyeball. And
That's-
you have motivation, pretty much everything's explained.
You're constantly in a
minutes.
loop of whether am I in reality or is this all a dream that's been fabricated for me?
You want to know what I think we need to see in more games?
Oops.
I think I think stories nowadays aren't being written very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Shoot me if you disagree, but I feel that a lot of games are lacking a lot in the story.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
single player aspect of games is
Yeah.
kind of going out, and multiplayer is getting more focus than anything.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like,
Also, I just want to say something. Cynthia says, "How's everybody doing?"
Good.
Doing good,
Scott, we
Cynthia.
can't talk to people in chat because we're recording, and then when people listen to it later, they'll be like, "What the fuck
Oh,
are they
yeah.
talking about?"
Let's
Alright.
let's not. It doesn't matter. Okay, I think I completely 1,000,000% agree with you, Scott, because I love good stories, and if something has a good story, I will be glued to it until I'm done with it. Perfect example of that is the first time I read the first Sword Art Online novel. I read the whole thing in like one day, and that shouldn't ever be done by any human. But I think that's the biggest thing is the first thing we have to look at before we're like, all right, what are we going to do for the multiplayer? What are we going to do for the after the story? Because that's not always the most important part. Because if you don't like the single player, then if it feels like a chore to play through the story, that's how you know the story is not good. If it's
Yes.
boring to play through the single player, then that's how you know it's a bad game. Because too many people are focused on multiplayer and DLC to worry about what's going to happen in the single player campaign, and that's total BS.
There are some
It's all up-
games that doesn't apply to. Think fighting games. Think Street Fighter and Smash Bros. They're not about the single player. They're
But
about
that is just one mechanic. That's not.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you can't do much with it.
yeah, exactly.
Even
However,
then,
Street
Because
Fighter
Fighter
has
basically
a
the whole
separate-
point of
Yeah, Street Fighter has
single
a
player FPS is you are super Mr. Marine Dick Hard all the time, and you just shoot everything.
Yeah, that's their cop out.
Forever,
That's their
and
way of
that's
not
it.
having to worry about the story, so they can. be
That
like,
is the
"So how many
story, and that is
prestige
all
levels
that
are we
will
going to
ever
have in
be
this
the story,
multiplayer?"
and that is all that can ever be the story.
I have something
See,
to say. There's a game, and I know Mitchell's played it. Mitchell tells me to play it, and I still haven't. I'm sorry, Mitchell. Spec Ops: The Line, is that the name of the game?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
I hear that's a very well written story.
The story of
That-
that game is mind blowing at the end.
You
However,
will get fucked in that game.
That is a good story and everything, but it's straight out of Heart of Darkness. I mean,
Okay, I want
Yes.
to counter both. I
Every
think it was
game
Christian
is
and
actually a
Jeff.
good game.
I want to counter your argument saying that fighting games don't really have to focus on story that much because of the mechanic they base.
Yes, that was the
Are
point
you
I
going to
was
talk
making.
about BlazBlue?
that's what I just said.
Yes.
No. What about Mortal Kombat?
Mortal Kombat story isn't even that great.
Whoa.
It really is though. It's
Oh,
got
Mortal
so
Kombat's
much
so
spanning going on.
Yeah.
They do the story really good. You have to admit that at least.
All right.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
thing
But
about
the
it is
story
that
also
since
crazy.
my thing about it is that since I haven't played MKX, all I can go on is MK9. So the story in that is watch everybody die in pretty much like systematic order, like that.
I haven't played.
And-
I haven't played a Mortal Kombat since MK3, so
I think I honestly like, even though you haven't played MKX, I still think MK9 is better personally. I liked the idea of the tournament being a much bigger part of the story than the character. Like, they pick their main characters that they want to elaborate on, and they do it a little more in MKX. It's more character focused rather than overall story focused. But I like the tournament aspect of MK9 because that's what a fighting game story should be like.
I'll agree to that.
Tournaments are a huge part of fighting games, and to make your story about it, it's like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Like, okay, BlazBlue is an outlier on that because BlazBlue's story is super fucking confusing, but if you figure it out, it's really good. But, like, to me, MK9, compared to a lot of stuff we get nowadays, MK9 is like, should be put on a fucking pedestal. Because they gave it a chance. They did it pretty well for what it was worth. And it got me to play through the whole thing in like one day.
Okay, so stuff we want to see in video games is definitely more story.
yeah, that's the
That's
big.
the
Like
DLC.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, like basically from everyone in this call is story.
Yeah.
Less DLC.
Worry less
So-
about how the game's gonna do after. Less worry about worry less about the sequel. Worry more about the game at hand
Right.
Well
before
said.
the game is even out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's something else that has a really big story sequence that I know Evan and Jeff really want to talk about that is actually starting to wrap up here soon.
You mean
So
from
if you
some
guys
of the
wanna start-
best writers on the face of the planet that should write video games?
Yeah. Oh man. So that thing that Carl would happen to be speaking of is what's going on in Marvel Comics right now, Secret Wars, which for those of you who don't know, basically the Marvel universe is being destroyed completely due to the mainstream Marvel universe and the secondary Marvel universe. Like not secondary, the Ultimate Universe.
1610 is
Yeah,
what it's called.
the 616 and the 1610 pretty much crashing together, destroying everything.
Right, the incursion. And this is why I'm saying that people that write for Marvel should write for video games, because originally, pretty much since about March or April, Secret Wars has been touted as an 8-part comic book series where it's going to have this main storyline, and then there's a bunch of tie-in books that you can read. So you've got like a Deadpool tie-in, you've got Marvel Zombies, you've got all this other stuff. So you can pick and choose to find out about the world of Secret Wars, and then you've got the 8 main books. However, I started noticing that the pacing was a little slow for 8 books, because we're currently on book number 5, and I was like, okay, so like this thing has to end in like 3 issues, and there's still a lot of people alive, because if you don't know about Secret Wars, everyone will die. That's not a spoiler. We've known that.
No holds barred.
So
unlimited death.
Yeah. So Marvel, in order to account for this, even though they've said it's going to be 8 issues, it's going to be 8 issues, it's going to be 8 issues, they've said that for months now, they've now announced that they're extending Secret Wars to a 9th issue. That is fucking genius, because even though it's going to make them look a little dumb for like, oh, okay, all of these issues have 1 out of 8, 2 out of 8 on the front cover, it doesn't matter, because they want to do their story in enough time to get the whole thing told, rather than rushing it and sacrificing it just so they can move on to all new, all different Marvel in October.
Yeah, that's gonna be so good. Have you seen some of the like one of the ones I'm most looking forward to is the New Avengers. It's got Hawkeye, who's one of my favorite superheroes of all time, Squirrel Girl, oddly enough, Sunspot, what's her name, Songbird from the Thunderbolts, Hulkling, and Wiccan from the Young Avengers. That is one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. It looks awesome.
But a lot of people I've heard, I guess I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I've heard both sides of the argument that Secret Wars is really good and that it's just Marvel trying to cover their ass for continuity flubs. And honestly, even if it is, I feel like they're definitely repairing that very well, because I'm not very well versed in comic books up to now. I picked it up over the summer, basically near the end of last school year. So I only know Secret Wars, really, and I know some lore about main characters like Doctor Doom and all those kind of guys. But even if you're like, oh, they're just doing Secret Wars to blow up the universe because they don't know what to do anymore, at least they don't do it every 3 months like DC.
Oh, pew, 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 pew. But
shots fired.
One thing
Shots
though,
fired so hard.
Marvel's always been like absurdly good with researching their shit. Like, I was recently reading a Evan and I both recently read the most recent Ant-Man run. And I will be damned if that wasn't... It's simple on the surface. It's just him trying to get by opening a security company. But pretty much, it's so well researched that, like, if you even if you don't know, you're like, oh, that's interesting. But it's actually accurate to the past in the comics. Everything, like... 50% of what happens in that story is a throwback to what's happened in the past in the comics, and it's mind-boggling how well they've done their research. And I honestly don't think continuity was the real issue behind it, because they're so good about keeping up on that.
Right. And I think also, like, they've got a ton of stuff to juggle, because, you know, Secret Wars is developed on one big planet called Battle World, which is the remainder of Earth 616 and Earth 1610 after they crashed together. And so you've got all these different, each series of Secret Wars, so like Marvel Zombies, the Deadpool tie-in, all that kind of stuff, it all happens in different segments of Battle World. So it's like, you can read as far into it as you want, or you can literally just read the 9 issues of Secret Wars, and that's all you need to know. So it's genius, because the tie-ins aren't required. They're not like, we want to make more money, so we're going to make you have to read the tie-ins. Like some Marvel events in the past where some important stuff has happened outside the tie-ins. Now it's like you can read the main series. That's all you need to know going into All New, All Different. And it's even more genius because All New, All Different is literally the perfect place for new people to start reading comic books because everything's starting over.
Another thing about the Secret Wars and the tie-ins is that they're also getting a chance to do a ton of comics that they wouldn't have been able to get by on their own. What's his name? The Agent of Hydra comic. That looks awesome. It's a one-shot. They also get to investigate things that they wouldn't normally investigate, like how characters react to the end of the world. Another one that's really interesting. One of my favorite characters of all time in comic books, just because of the absurdity. Howard the Duck. One thing they're actually doing is they're flipping his status quo and doing one as Howard the Human, in a world full of anthropomorphic animals.
Right.
And stuff like that wouldn't normally be published is getting published on a massive scale thanks to Secret Wars.
But yeah, there's not a lot else to talk about without ruining things. Check it out for yourself if you're interested in comic books. Secret Wars isn't necessarily the best place to start, but it'll give you kind of a intro here for a couple of months. That's about all I have to say about it. I mean,
Yeah.
the 9th issue, I think it's smart of them to take their time rather than get it done. That's my thing.
Yeah. But yeah,
So,
let's
all you
segue in everyone else back into the fold.
I was about to say, now that we're done,
Nerding
Oh,
out.
we're
We're
having a
bringing-
conversation
Nerding out.
outside.
Actually,
I've been watching it.
bringing everyone else back
Yeah.
in, I have a question for everyone. Who is your favorite superhero?
Ooh.
All right, I'm gonna go first because I just love talking about him. To be honest,
Hero.
Oh, here we go with the Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. The idea of a kid who has superpowers trying to do the right thing is it's such an easy story to do, but for so many years it's gone up and down. But I find myself gravitating towards Spider-Man because a lot of the similarities. I can honestly say, like, oh, I have this in common with Peter. I have this in common with Peter, which is what I think we like to see when we think of our favorite superheroes. Like, I do the same thing that he does, or I do the same thing that she does. You know?
Where your Uncle
Mhm.
Ben
Yeah.
died.
Honestly, I'd have to say my favorite ties in a lot with that. My favorite superhero, it's not really super, but my favorite hero has to be Hawkeye. The comics version, not the movies version, not the ultimate version, the mainstream comics version. Because he's just a normal guy. He has no powers. Like, I remember in one comic I was reading, he said, "I can't miss," and it was actually a comic with Spider-Man. He was like, "I can't miss. I'm just a normal guy with a bow and arrow, surrounded by gods, men in armor, and if I miss, that means I've been fooling myself all along, and I'm just a normal guy with a bow." Hawkeye is
He's
an
also
everyman.
deaf.
What, Carl?
He's also deaf.
I would have
Hawkeye?
to say mine is
Yeah.
probably.
I did not know that.
He was what?
Um,
Oh yeah,
He's deaf.
yeah, I know that actually. I forgot. I read the comic where it happened.
Speaking of heroes with disabilities, I would have to say mine is probably Daredevil partially because of the Netflix show, which is what got me to start reading comic books in the first place. But I love how the whole comic isn't about Matt Murdock fighting villains. Like, there's a lot of that. Trust me, there's a lot of that. But a lot of it is his internal normal person struggles being a criminal lawyer, how he has to, he's a vigilante. That's how a lot of superheroes are, though. A lot of them are just vigilantes when you boil it down. So he has to fight the concept within himself of, I'm a vigilante, so I'm outside the law, but at the same time, I'm a lawyer who helps to uphold the law. And that's a lot of, it's a really good internal struggle in my opinion.
That's a very well done internal struggle. I have to agree with you on that. To be honest, that's very well done.
All right, who's up next?
For me, it'd have to be Nightcrawler. I don't know. Just ever since I was a kid, I watched the X-Men cartoon growing up, so I was always a big fan of that. And just, I don't know what it is. Just Nightcrawler has always been like my big favorite hero growing up.
I remember.
Like through comics and everything.
I remember I had the X-Men Genesis game as a kid, and Nightcrawler was one of the playable characters, but I could never figure out how to use his powers in the game.
It's like he's so B-list because he's never had his own standalone thing, to my knowledge, and he's never like been the major focus of an arc, and he's never had a big hand in an arc, like
Right.
maybe AVX. Other than that, I can't think of anything.
Right.
So it's just like
I can't really think
No,
of
I
him
can't
being
think of
anything
anything
blue
else.
furry he's blue furry, has a tail and teleports, and he's probably my favorite superhero.
Carl's
He's
persona
also-
confirmed.
He's also the son of Azazel and Mystique.
True. He is
See, I
part
did
demon.
not know that.
And for those of you who do not know who Azazel is, he is a very top-notch demon assassin who got shit on in the X-Men First Class movie, much like everybody else.
Yeah.
Taking
It's not
down
Marvel Studios, then it's bad. So
a master of every fighting style, every weapon style, can teleport, is a guardian of hell, defeated by a clothesline.
Oh, well,
Okay, no, I have to say I also like Havoc.
yeah.
Havoc's
That's
cool.
kind of there too.
Who's next? Who has yet to go?
Cole.
Fellas.
Personally, I'm one of those scrubs. I've always loved Deadpool. Deadpool was
Yeah.
always
All
first introduced to me by Carl whenever he first was like, yeah, he's kind of a superhero, he's kind of not a superhero. Go on. Yeah, he breaks the fourth wall. He knows he's in a comic book.
he
Oh.
references other issues of his own comic book.
And after that, it was just a down spiral straight into the comic book universe of Deadpool, knowing that he has such a glorious personality, such a caring guy, hidden and wrapped under insanity and just off-the-wall nuttiness. And
Cole,
I
I'm gonna
love
link
that.
you the 4 issues of Deadpool's Secret Wars tie-in, and I'm gonna let you read it because it's hilarious.
Oh my god, I would
It's
love
pretty
it.
good. He wins
Ex-
the old Secret Wars from like 1983. Wins.
Oh, that tastes delicious.
It basically, I mean, if you want to consider it canon, it's basically how the Marvel Universe was revived after the 1980s Secret Wars.
Really?
Yep.
Spider-Man was alive after that Secret Wars too.
Yeah.
That's how he got the black suit.
Wait,
I
else
believe
is
that
next?
leaves Phil and Mitchell.
Phil, you're up.
Okay. Get ready for the combo breaker.
Deathstroke.
Okay. All right. So, favorite superhero? I don't know. Superhero, law enforcer, Judge Dredd.
All right.
Nice.
All right.
Oh,
It's a
man.
combo break.
Really, Judge Dredd?
I'm surprised you didn't say
he's-
Doctor Strange.
I was thinking about it. It's like Doctor Strange is number 2, Judge Dredd is number 1. Judge Dredd, he's badass law enforcer extraordinaire. Just that's my feelings on him.
I haven't read
was-
any of his comics, but I have seen the movie, and the movie's pretty good. So
The
All right.
movie is
Which
great also.
movie? Which movie? The Stallone one where he says, "I am the law." Oh Jesus
whoa,
Christ!
whoa.
Whoa. Somebody
Oh my
went
God.
2 in.
Damn son.
Rip my ears.
What about
Spike
Mitchell?
Lee.
Mitchell?
He is. I like.
Big butts and I
Ever
cannot
since
lie.
watching. No, I like Batman just because he has no superpower, but he also got me into comics, and I also like Stephen Amell's version of Green Arrow. Those are my 2 favorite, just because he got me back into comic books too, and the series is pretty good.
I would like to point out that a lot of us have been picking people who don't actually have superpowers.
Yeah,
True.
and the Punisher.
You know, since we're going along those lines, Big B.
Wait.
No one probably knows what that is.
Bigsby Wolf?
Big
Big
from
B.
from
From
Big
Fables?
B
From Fables.
Oh,
Wolves
dude,
Among Us.
Fables is so good. Oh.
Fables is probably one of my favorite comic lines ever, and it's published by DC.
Yeah.
I thought it was independent. I'm fairly sure it is independent.
Nope, it's DC.
Well,
Let me tell
okay,
you.
I know the trade backs though. The trade backs are independently published because I've read the trade backs and they were not DC. They may have picked them up afterwards.
Is it just me, or is it hard just not to fall into Bigsby Wolf whenever you're playing through that?
Big B.
Either or. My foot, your ass, it's the same thing.
Oh, they're Vertigo, which is owned by. I never knew Vertigo was owned by DC. That's
yeah,
my
you-
confusion.
I love the intro theme whenever you really get in there. It fucking. What the hell is that? Anyway.
Just
Phill
to
just
clarify.
linked us to a picture of Bubsy in the sky. Oh man. Bubsy
That's who we're talking
3D.
about, right?
Bubsy revisits the James Terrell retrospective.
Now, Bubsy 3D.
Please no. Well, you know, we've been talking for a long ass time. This is a lot of talking, a lot of different things. Nothing really. Some stuff kind of goes together, but not a lot of, a lot of diversity. We still have a couple of things left on the list, but since it's been a little bit over an hour, we're gonna keep those on the back burner for next time. So yeah, now you kind of know how this thing works. We just kind of talk about random stuff that we pull directly from our ani and just kind of bring it up to the rest of the people.
Is that really the plural for anus?
Yeah, I don't know. I just call it ani.
Employ for drugs.
I mean, we don't have one collective anus. We have multiple. We have lots of ani. Anyway, that's probably going to wrap us up for the night, unless anybody else has anything extremely pressing to talk about before we kill this thing.
John
Well,
Cena.
I mean, we are going. Evan, what are you going to play? Rocket League after this?
Yep. Stick around if you're watching our live stream, because I'm going to be playing some Rocket League. And if you're not watching the live stream and you're listening to this recorded, come check us out on Twitch at the Weird Kids Podcast. We got Facebook, we got Twitter, we got a website, we got everything. Literally, we'll probably have a MySpace at some point. I don't know. Nobody uses that anyway. But yeah, check us out. This is kind of what we do. This is kind of how our format is for streaming as well. We're trying to work out a solid schedule. We're piecing it together. So hopefully we'll have something like that set up to where you guys can watch us on a regular basis, and then we can come back and talk like this more of a personal level rather than kind of a, we're staring at the chat and occasionally talking to people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for the first actual podcast of the Weird Kids Podcast.
Woo!
I think I speak for everyone else when I said this has been interesting. It's been actually extremely simple. I'm horribly surprised. I'm horrified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you.
People, I can't wait for issue 100. It's happening. It's coming.
Yeah, I just want to say before we cut out, I am immensely proud of all of us. I love you
Yep.
guys. We really need to do this more regularly. This has been a hell of a good time. I honestly, I wasn't surprised by how smoothly things went. I had faith in us. I mean, I know that normally we can be loud, we can be chaotic, we can be idiotic, but that's just us having fun. I had it. I had faith in us. Because as Phil's saying, Preacher Jeff, I'm preaching to the choir! Just let me, I need a book to slap so I can be a Southern Baptist.
Please no.
Let's just wrap it up.
No. We're going to finish this. All right, guys. Like I said, check us out on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, website, everything, anything and everything. We will see you guys here in a couple weeks back doing the same thing, talking about new stuff, hopefully with more people in this call. So for everybody else in the Skype call, we're the Weird Kids Podcast, and we'll see you guys in about 2 weeks.
All right, see you later, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Eat a dick.
Wow, what a jerk. 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 Wow, what a jerk.